Welcome back to My Seminary Life. I'm your host, Brandon Knight, and today is the 2025 preview edition of the show. Throughout this episode, just going to talk about what is planned for this year and what I am hoping to get to here in this year. Trying not to put a lot of like hard in stone, this is what we're going to do, and be more flexible. That is the thing I have learned from the most recent reset I had to do back in the August, September time period, is I just need to be more flexible. Now, thanks to this residency that I am in, I've been able to map out basically the first half of the year. The first half of the year, there is a game plan. It's that second half that is very wide open. So I'm going to walk you through the first half, what I've got mostly planned, and then that second half of the year, I'll talk about what I'm hoping to get to. So over the next few weeks, it is going to be nothing but specials. I am going to go back and catch up on all of those special editions of the show that I missed out on. So we're going to be doing a very late holiday party, that reorientation special that I was hyping as like this new themed episode I want to do every late August, early September. That's just kind of a in the word, reorienting ourselves back to Jesus, the gospel, and the kingdom versus the regular kind of style episodes we do here. Meant to do that back in like August, just now going to get to be doing that. So we'll be doing a reflection in scripture here pretty soon, and of course the 2024 edition of Monsters and Luther Part 2, The Return. I have to do it even though Halloween and Reformation Day is so far behind us now. I do have to. This is just part of my mental health issues. I've determined is that because I have committed to it and I love these themed episodes, I have to get them done. Even though they're behind us, and more than likely you all have forgiven me or just completely forgot that was supposed to be a thing on the table. So starting with this episode and running through the rest of January and into February, we've got specials. The preview episode here today, and if I remember correctly, next week should be reorientation. I'm not even going to quite quote exactly what is going to be happening. Reorientation, we're going to look at a little bit of a revisiting of a theology of rest in the presence of Jesus. Last year's, I should say, a very late holiday party. Going to talk about New Year's, since we are post New Year's Day. Might as well talk about New Year's. And then of Monsters and Luther Part 2, The Return. Going to be talking about least favorite horror franchises and films, projects that I think might be a little bit overrated, and then maybe talk a little bit about how do we treat Martin Luther. We have like these, franchises that some people love. Some people love certain horror franchises, and then I just can't get into them. Why is it that some people absolutely love Martin Luther, like the Lutherans, and then others maybe have a little bit of a harder time with that, or see maybe a bit of a hypocrisy in the love of Martin Luther? That's what we're going to be doing in Of Monsters and Luther Part 2, The Return. Yes, the title is long and obnoxious on purpose. So that's the next few weeks into February. The rest of February into early March, we're going to be doing a return to Rabbit Trail. There is a Rabbit Trail planned during that time period. There's also going to be a couple C.S. Lewis episodes planned during that time period as well. Going into March and through April, if you are a longtime listener of My Seminary Life, there will be much rejoicing in the streets, because early March through late April, the show is moving to Fridays. That's right, listeners. Fish FryDays is back for 2025. And in case you missed the original Fish FryDays, this was a series, a bonus series that I ran during the end of the Masters era of MSL into the start of the independent study era of MSL. The original run of 7 episodes, it was one per Friday throughout Lent, and it was just exploring what is Lent. Historically, where do we find the biblical call for fasting, looked at the Lutheran traditions behind Lent, took some time to reflect on Pope Francis's message. I think it was his Ash Wednesday message that year. So just kind of embracing for those of us who came from maybe the more low liturgical, Baptist, Pentecostal world where we don't really do the whole Lenten thing because it's that Catholic thing. Turns out it's not just that Catholic thing. And we, throughout the series, tried to expose some light on this is what Lent is and why Lent is a good spiritual practice for everybody. This go around, taking a different turn with Fish FryDays. Every Friday throughout most of March through to the end of April is going to be a devotional style episode. It's calling the series From the Grave. This is inspired by a devotional book of the same title by A.W. Tozer, and each Friday is going to be a little reflection devotional. I don't know how long the episodes are going to be. In my mind, these are truly going to be short episodes, but every time I tell myself, Brandon, you need to record a short episode, it still ends up being like 25, 30 minutes long. So we'll see how it goes. But this is going to be a short devotional style every Friday, give you something to kind of chew on while you prepare for another week during the Lent season. So be looking for that. 7 episodes through to the end of April. And at the very end of April, when we return back to our usual Saturday morning time slot, it will be the 4-year anniversary special. Hooray! Yes, it will be a month late technically because the show's birthday is in March, not April, but I'm just going to let Fish FryDays run its course, and then we will celebrate. Because that's how Lent works. We mourn and we fast during Lent, and then we celebrate at Easter. So just going to let it be that way too. And if it works out, we'll see if it actually works. This year is the 30th anniversary of one of the most influential children's specials, a Rugrats Passover. And I say influential, and you might scoff at that, but truly, this was one of the first times that a Jewish holiday was portrayed very clearly in children's media. And since we will be just a week removed from Passover this year, I'm going to, for the 4-year anniversary special, I don't have Paramount Plus currently, so hopefully I can get it by then or find a way to watch the episode. Gonna go back and revisit it. I have very, very faint memories of watching this one. So gonna go back and revisit a Rugrats Passover for the 30th anniversary of that episode, and also then simultaneously the 4-year anniversary of My Seminary Life. That takes us to May. And in May, going to run through the month with a whole bunch of experiential preaching and also rabbit trail episodes. Currently in my residency at at Riverside Community Church, I am doing a series on spiritual disciplines. Those episodes related to that sermon series are going to come out in May. I know that's quite the delay, but if it makes you feel better, that rabbit trail that's coming out in February, yeah, that's about my Thanksgiving sermon series from November. So sometimes things just have to come out on a delay. That's just kind of, it's, again, being flexible. Just trying to be a little bit more flexible. It's either that or no My Seminary Life. So, that's where we're at. So, throughout May, you're going to be getting the episodes related to this series I'm doing currently on spiritual disciplines. Looking forward to talking to you all about that then. That takes us to June, and I'm starting to run out of things. So, early June is going to be back-to-back specials. First, it's the 200th, as long as I stay on schedule, the 200th episode of My Seminary Life, which means we need to do a little bit of a party, a little bit of a special episode at this point in time. I don't know what that will be, but the plan is to do a special episode there for the 200th episode, followed then by this year's edition of School's Out, which that is exciting because, again, if I stay on track, School's Out is going to come out when it should. It's going to take me all the way to June, but by that point, I'm going to finally start getting back on track with all my themed episodes. I have an idea for what this year's School's Out is going to be. In years past, been doing more movie reviews. This year, I think I'm going to take a break from movies, and I'm going to go more the music route, which reminds me, I need to write that down. Now, I know in real time, just a moment passed, but I had to go get my notebook, write it all down. It's been a little bit more time for me than it has been for you, but that's the cool part about the internet. You also don't need to know that, but for some reason, I enjoy telling you those kinds of things. Now, it is at that point, right around mid-June through to the end of the year, that I'm a little bit at this point, I don't know for sure what's going to be happening. But here are some of my ideas as to what could happen throughout the rest of 2025. And we'll see what actually ends up happening. For starters, there is the usual commitment, fingers crossed, to get those themed episodes out to you. So the 2025 reorientation of Monsters in Luther Part 3, The End, ? And this year's holiday party, the 2025 holiday party, will all be taking place hopefully right around when they should be happening rather than several months late. That's the plan, at least. Also, throughout this year, I am planning on... It's been about a year and a half already since I graduated from seminary, and my hope is to start going back and rereading some of the books I read when I was in seminary, just to see now that the seminary dust is starting to settle and I'm not skimming as much because I'm just trying to get assignments done, and see what is holding up, which means there will probably be, like we had back in November, rebroadcast episodes. I don't know why producer Cooper is growling while he is, if you can hear that, I apologize. He's playing with cars and watching Mickey Mouse. I don't know why there's growling going on. But the hope is to get back into some of those seminary reads I had and then rebroadcast those episodes with a few additional thoughts along the way as well. As it has been already, so it shall continue to be, that as my residency continues, which as of right now, I know it will be running through to the end of February. I don't know how much further afterwards, but at least through to the end of February, I will be preaching either at the Church of Hessville or Riverside Community Church. As that continues on, those sermons will be inspiring either individual episodes like rabbit trails and experiential preaching episodes, or they will end up being like Hymns of Christmas, entire sermon series that then get translated into some podcast series as well. I've already mentioned that there, kind of late February, there's going to be a C.S. Lewis episode or two related to some things that he read, that I read, that he wrote. that is going to continue to happen periodically throughout the year, rather than just sitting down and doing an entire series on C.S. Lewis. My plan is to try and pepper his writings in with my regular reading schedule. I'm trying to read a book a month as I go through this residency, some kind of book that correlates to either what I am preaching on or something about ministry. And so as this residency time continues, there will probably be periodical C.S. Lewis related episodes. Along with that, I'm also going to bring back one of our other favorite theologians here on My Seminary Life, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Late in 2025, I posted how I was trying to get a third project started called The Confessing Church. It was going to be a show specifically devoted to Dietrich Bonhoeffer, his writings, his life, and his contemporaries. The thing of it is, it got tricky to try and launch that third show, and also had a hard time just building traction in general for it. With that in mind, I outsourced and said, hey, if you are really interested in the Dietrich Bonhoeffer stuff, go check out Homebrewed Christianity and the work that Tripp Fuller is doing over there and whatnot. My hope is, similar to peppering in some C.S. Lewis episodes here and there, is that to also pepper in some Dietrich Bonhoeffer episodes here and there. Although I can't quite get the whole project up off the ground like I would like to, there is still a lot of need to spend some time reading, studying, reflecting, talking about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, his life, his works, and his contemporaries. I'm finding more and more how significant his contemporaries are as well, and how some of the very interesting influences that get tied into the work and life of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Like one of the big ones, you could say the quirky ones with Bonhoeffer is, of course, the fact that he was very influenced by Gandhi. Well, it also turns out that Gandhi was also very influenced by Leo Tolstoy. So it's just kind of like this very interesting, like, family tree in a way of the people that were writing and speaking and thinking when Bonhoeffer was alive and the people that they were influenced by. It becomes this very interesting family tree of theologians, philosophers, pacifists, anarchists. Like, it's just such an interesting group. And so going into the Trump presidency, I really think we need to spend some time with his material. And so there is actually, I misspoke a little bit earlier, as opposed to the C.S. Lewis stuff where it's going to be a little bit more of peppered in throughout the year, kind of used as more like filler material. As of right now, it's a short series, especially compared to the Summer of Bonhoeffer from a few years ago. But there is a short series planned for later in this year, looking at a return to just sitting with Bonhoeffer's material and talking it over. And as this episode starts to wind down, you may be thinking to yourself, Brandon, that seems like a lot of individual episodes. And honestly, it is. You know, My Seminary Life was built on this concept of series. And we do have Fish FryDays, Rabbit Trail, and experiential preaching. Although they are usually individual episodes, they are treated as an ongoing series. But really, the only other one I'm sure of at this point is this planned Bonhoeffer series later in the year. And it's a short one. Again, I'm only thinking like a few weeks on this upcoming Bonhoeffer series. There are two series that I am hoping will happen at some point this year. But again, we're going to let it flow and see how it goes. One is another round of dialogues. It's been over a year now since the last batch of dialogues. That was a series I really enjoyed doing. That was a series that the listeners, you all seem to really enjoy, and a lot of the guests that were on that series really enjoyed being a part of it. And I have an idea on how to do it again, but a little bit differently. Shake it up a little bit, just that way it's not cut and paste. And I'm even hoping and planning on bringing in some different guests just to try and keep the flow going a little bit differently. But I'm hoping to do that one. We'll see. The other one I'm hoping to do is another common thing, another common class that you could take in Bible college or seminary is a class that focuses on a specific book of the Bible. Usually you have to take like a class on an Old Testament book and then one on a New Testament book. I've talked a lot about that class on Romans that I took when I was in college. Oh my gosh, don't get started on the Romans thing again, Brandon. Anyway, so I would like to, as I kind of continue to fill in some of these gaps of stuff that I haven't gotten to yet on the show that are standard in most Bible colleges and seminaries, is to do a series where we basically just walk through a book of the Bible, either at a more of a high level, like this is what chapter 1 is about, 2, 3, or maybe just have guests pick their favorite individual passages. In a sense, if you're a fan of Let Nothing Move You, it's going to be similar to that, where it's going to be more scripturally focused, really just getting into what is the Word of God saying here versus a sermon or the more like theological conversations that do happen. So I'm hoping to get to one of those this year, but again, we'll just kind of have to see how it runs. And I know that roadmap I know that roadmap is nowhere near as detailed of a map as I have made in the past. Even just like looking at my planner and some of the gaps that are in there, it does give me a little bit of anxiety, if I'm being honest. But, like I said, gotta embrace the philosophy of Bruce Lee here a little bit and be water. It's not the philosophy of Bruce Lee. That's Taoism, by the way. I mean, Bruce Lee did popularize that, but it's Taoism. But gonna try and be water and just not get so wrapped up in I have to do this right now or else I'm going to fail at life. I know that people listen to this show because they enjoy it for the most part. I'm sure there are some people who like keep up with this show just to be angry, but a lot of people who listen to the show are here because they enjoy it and want there to be a show. So this is what I can give you. And this is what I know, and we'll see what actually plays out. And maybe that will be what I do, is I will keep track more of how does this actually play out versus my plans. So that's it for today's episode. Thank you all for listening to it. If you haven't yet already, please rate and review this show wherever you get your podcasts. Pass this episode along to a friend, someone that you think needs to get hyped about what's going on here on MSL during the year. And consider checking out other great shows here on the Anazao Ministries Podcast Network. We got a lot of theology shows. Whole Church Podcasts, Dummy for Theology, The Homily, The Bible, After Dark, After Hours. I always mess that one up. I'm sorry, The Foul-Mouthed Preacher. I always get your show's name wrong. The already mentioned Let Nothing Move You. A lot of great theology shows. And be praying, because I think we're working on expanding and bringing more shows in throughout 2025. So be praying. Pretty excited. I've been scouting, to tell you the truth. I've been scouting. And of course, when you're a content creator like me and you've got mental illnesses and overactive imagination, I'm constantly brainstorming new shows, even though I shouldn't be doing that. I should just focus on the two I have, and I'm happy and content with the two, but I'm always have new ideas. So maybe pray for me that I can be content or find a way to have more time to make more shows. I don't know. If you would like to financially support this show, please go on over to buymeacoffee.com/MSLpod. You can make a one-time donation or consider joining one of our monthly support tiers. You get access to exclusive blog posts, including finding out what's happening on the show a month ahead of time. And one tier, you get a shout out here on the show. So consider supporting us that way, or go into the description of this episode to find the link to our shop. And I totally forgot to mention when I was hyping the other AMP shows, hello, I have another podcast, and it's called Kung Fu Pizza Party, a show where I talk about martial arts pop culture, mostly reviewing kung fu, samurai, or ninja films, but also doing some fun topical episodes every once in a while, including the one that just came out yesterday, where I talk to James Gunn, the guy running the DCU, and proposed an opportunity to him to appeal more to us, the martial art moviegoer, because DC has a lot of great martial art superheroes, and I think he would be a big fan of them. Honestly, he loves those quirky characters, those B characters. So check that out, or any of the other great shows here on the network. This is Brandon signing off, reminding you as always that theology is for everyone, so keep on studying.